Awesome. Thanks for having us. I'm Henrik Wagner with Virtustream. I'm part of our global SAP practice. Really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about how we drive efficiency running HANA in the cloud. It's also very exciting because Sapphire, the big conference for SAP, just took place. You may or may not have been able to be there. Some of the content and announcements we're going to talk about was covered at Sapphire, so really excited spending some time with you. Stuart?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Stuart Bernard. I run the Virtustream organization here in the UK and Ireland. Delighted to be here today. I've been with Virtustream for coming up for 2 years now. We relaunched Virtustream in the UK, and some of you may have heard of us from before, but we are now very much grown significantly and delighted to be here today and present to such an austere group. So thank you for that. Henrik, next slide. So I'll tell you a little bit about who we are. Today we've got roughly just under 2,400 employees now as of last week. We've grown our data center operation around the world to around 20, of which we've got 7 in the UK. 7 in Europe. I have 2 in the UK, which provides a data sovereignty pairing. I also have the ability to pair between the UK and Amsterdam. And then across Europe I have 2 data centers in Frankfurt and 2 data centers as disaster recovery pairs within Paris. We have offices in 10 countries now and growing that footprint to about 14 by the end of this year, and easily one of the fastest growing branded companies within Dell Technologies and Dell EMC. We invented our own thought leadership around enterprise applications for assurance and security, which enables us to do a number of automation activities around SAP. We invented our own micro VM technology, which is not a small virtual machine, but this is around how we can do resource density within the platform, provide absolute assurance to our clients on data integrity, security and application performance. And more importantly, it allows our clients to benefit from a true cloud consumption model where you're not paying for allocated virtual machines within a cloud model, but paying for what you genuinely use. That then leads on to our cloud management platform software, which is specifically and uniquely developed for SAP operations. Although we can run and do run other applications as successfully, the cloud management platform Extreme was developed specifically to optimize the operation of SAP. And as you would expect, we're going to say this, we operate the world's best infrastructure as a service cloud platform. What else can one say? Next slide please, Henrik. And as I said before, we're part of Dell Technologies. So Virtustream started and was founded in 2009. Our clients came along and we grew exponentially over the years, and in 2015 we were acquired by EMC for about $1.4 billion, and then we were acquired as part of EMC into Dell Technologies when Michael completed the acquisition last year. So that brings us into a suite of businesses with an annual revenue of about 74 billion and 140,000 team members. Not on the slide, but we also have $4.5 billion research and development funding underway, of which Virtustream receives a disproportionately high share of that research and development to grow our capabilities, to bring new offerings to the market, and to ensure not only is our cloud service evergreen, but is also breaking the innovation barriers to allow our clients to get and leverage the best in the market. As I said before, we're one of 7 brands, go-to-market brands within Dell Technology. Dell themselves, who I'm sure you've probably heard of, Dell EMC, which is the merger of Dell and EMC, Pivotal, who does some pretty cool development and operational management of software, RSA for security, SecureWorks, who provides security managed services, ourselves, Virtustream, and a company I'm sure you've heard of, VMware. Please, Henrik. So when it comes to SAP, we're pretty unrivaled. We were founded to do SAP. It's in our core, it's in our DNA, it's what gets us excited, it's what gets us up in the morning with a smile on our face. We've got over 225 clients currently where we're running their production SAP. We've got about 1,700 non-production SAP instances under management as well for those clients. A number of firsts have been previously owned or part owned by SAP. About 10% of us were owned by SAP at one time. We were effectively a test bed for SAP to run some of their new innovation. So we were the first production SAP within a multi-tenant cloud, for example. We were the first to have ECC running on HANA, and we've done well over 600 SAP HANA migrations. In fact, we've done something close to 3,500 SAP migrations in total between ourselves and our organization partners. We do everything that's SAP. If it's in the PAM, we do it. And we're one of 11 global HEC premium suppliers, which Henrik will come on to. And as you would expect, we're fully certified not only for hosting services, HANA operations and cloud services, but as you would expect from a company with our heritage, we are fully certified to pretty much every security standard that one could expect. And at this point, I would like to hand over to Henrik. Henrik has been with Virtustream for quite some time now and is one of the global thought leaders around enabling SAP within a cloud delivery model. And it's an absolute pleasure to welcome Henrik to the UK team today. And thank you very much, Henrik, for doing this. And I'll hand over to you now.
Stuart, for that introduction. I'm going to spend a little bit more time maybe talking about SAP and the experience here and then get right into it. But I'm actually originally from Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden, so spent a lot of time in the UK over the years, but live in the US right now. But I think one of the things, and this was highlighted at Sapphire as well, if you look at the history from Virtustream and where we started and where our focus area was, is around a lot of strength in experience and skill level in helping SAP customers innovate, migrate to new platform, and then operate those platforms. And I think that's some of the things that we're highlighting here in the slides. The other thing is, you know, as SAP customer may run an ERP platform, whether it's traditional database or HANA database, there may be a lot of SAP applications, but there are a lot of satellite systems as well connected to business processes that deliver ERP. And I think, you know, even though we've been extremely focused around SAP and, you know, traditional SAP and SAP HANA, we have about 40% of the workloads connected to those SAP workloads for our clients that we're also managing from an end-to-end. And we'll go into some of the details on how we manage that, some of the advanced capabilities that we deliver, and why we think we're drive global efficiency for HANA and the surrounding applications. Stuart mentioned that we're one of the 11 HEC providers, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that later in the presentation. That's the ability of us working together with SAP under a governance model from a support and governance and the SAP contract with our delivery. And there's all kinds of other SAP credentials, if you will. For example, we run the SAP demo cloud globally. So when SAP pre-sales folks are out doing pilots or prototypes, they're spinning that up actually on our cloud with about 500 VMs that's running in our Virtustream Enterprise Cloud. I think the last thing is too, it's not on the slide, is we're very strong in the federal space, in the public sector space because of our security and risk and compliance solution. We'll talk about that. And as a result, SAP's federal NS2 cloud is actually running on Virtustream as well. But let's jump into a little bit more kind of first. What are we seeing in the market? What are we seeing around cloud? How does that relate to SAP and some of the use cases? And then we'll get into some of the benefits and solutions that we offer. So I think, you know, most people would agree that over the last 4 or 5 years, you know, the public cloud providers, the bigger providers have kind of created a market around cloud. As you guys know, they were very focused on general purpose type applications. You know, these were applications that maybe did not have the requirements around performance and SLAs and didn't need that white glove, you know, fully managed capabilities. What the most of the analysts out there, whether it's Forrester, Gartner, or 451 Research here, you see here, is the phase 2 of that transition is now moving and have been moving over the last 2 years or so to the mission critical capability. So the cloud It's not if it's ready to meet the capabilities and the requirements of mission-critical application. It's how do you get there, right? How do you understand where you're at? How do you design a cloud roadmap? And how do you then deliver the capabilities and services to help those clients through those risks and potential migrations to get to that future state? And we're going to talk about that, obviously, how we do that and how we've done it for a lot of successful clients. But it's nice to see that a lot of the third parties believe that the next kind of stage here is that mission critical applications is ready for cloud over the next couple of years, and that's the big growth area. One particular client, we're going to talk quite a bit about different clients as we talk about our capabilities. One particular client that actually runs S4 HANA in our cloud is Florida Crystals, Dominus Sugars out of Florida. Very fortunate for them to be a long-time client of Virtustream, and they've gone not only a step of running S4 HANA with a full managed support from us, but they've gone even further to the point where their CIO talks about getting out of their data center business. So that really highlights the second piece of this phase two, that not only their ERP applications, but any other mission critical applications, and then any other general purpose stuff. So they actually don't have a data center. They're close to a $10 billion organization and fully leveraging cloud from an economics and agility perspective. So where do we see, if you go then to around SAP and HANA use cases, what do we see some of the technical drivers and business drivers, some of the entry points? You know, a lot of different ways that people adopt cloud. A lot of people kind of start their journey in different places. You know, people, I think, realizes that it is the right opportunity to drive innovation and agility, leveraging the cloud. But you know, how do you build that roadmap, and where do you start? We're a big fan of helping customers understand where they're at and then starting that journey. Now, there's some clients that jump all in, and they may have a greenfield SAP deployment or S4 HANA deployment, and they jump all in with their ERP system. But many clients start at different places. You know, they may start with a BPC on HANA environment or BW on HANA environment. We have large clients like NBC Universal, parent company is Comcast, that actually started with a BPC on HANA deployment in our cloud a year and a half ago, and now they're moving their BW on HANA environment and starting to accelerate the journey of all their SAP applications. Same with a company called Honeywell. They're probably familiar with $40 billion company out of the U.S. house on HANA, and they realized that they wanted to get that up and running and do the testing from a functional perspective and have the agility of a cloud platform to have that up and running. And then it went so well that they took that into production. So there's various ways to kind of start this journey. You know, some of those ways and entry points can be around customers having a technology refresh of existing platform, obviously, right? You may already be in a cloud provider, and you may be getting the service levels and performance you want, or already in an outsourcing. You may be in your own data center but fully outsourced, and that's coming up for renewal, and you want to look at what is my next step to drive further agility and innovation around cloud. We talked about it obviously already with these customer examples, but we see a lot of new HANA database or S4 HANA deployment, and that could be any use case from a sidecar data warehouse to BPC, BW, or EMCIT. We ourselves are running SNOP on HANA, the sales and operations and planning modules on HANA in Virtustream's cloud. So, what is that first step? How do you get your feet wet, understanding the operating model to be in a cloud? And then we see those clients move further down the road from a HANA perspective in that SAP landscape in our cloud. One key area around that is the fact that when you go from a traditional SAP customer, whether you've been running SAP on Oracle, SQL, or DB2, when you move to HANA, as you're probably aware, it requires for production certified infrastructure. It also requires skill sets around managing HANA as a platform and infrastructure. Sometimes customers have those skill sets, sometimes they gain that, sometimes there's system integrators to help out with that, but that's another area where, a company like Virtustream, because we deliver a full managed cloud, can really help out to offset and ensure that those skill sets, and whether it's from a basis perspective or managing and running that HANA infrastructure, can help reduce those risks. And that could be to start that HANA journey, the option to go back on premise, Or what we see most of the customers then have done is they've taken advantage of that skill set and built up their organizational structure and then continue to leverage the cloud to take those applications in production with the choice of only using us from an infrastructure as a service or continue using us as an infrastructure as a service and as well as basis, OS, and DB. And we'll talk a little bit about that more here when it comes to our services capabilities. Other areas is obviously around application upgrades, Unicode conversions, consolidations of SAP environment. Some large companies that have gone through a lot of mergers and acquisitions, they either go through a global instance consolidation or they may be, through mergers, acquisitions, merging or splitting SAP environments, and that's usually you need a project landscape or you need a bunch of extra SAP systems for a period of time. Great entry point for leveraging cloud, and from that perspective, we have many clients that have done that. We also, we have big clients. One client at Sapphire we were very fortunate to have speak on our behalf was GE Lightning. So GE, General Electric, is going through a big consolidation between Oracle and SAP and deploying a lot of new S4 HANA and ECC on HANA. And one of the first clients that came onto our cloud from that perspective was GE Lightning. Now there's 3 divisions of GE running on our cloud as well. So there's all kinds of various entry points. We think there's an opportunity to leverage those entry points to build a roadmap and then accelerate cloud adoption. I think that one of the last things we want to talk about here is obviously SAP's put out kind of the support statement around ending support at 2025 for the traditional stack around NetWeaver or ECC, right? Supporting Oracle DB, DB2, and SQL. 2025 may seem like a far out, but when you think about building up skill set and starting that journey and planning for that, and with a refresh cycle that people usually have around 3, 4, 5 years, that's driven a lot of clients to start the journey if you haven't started the journey with HANA already. And the last thing we saw, which was pretty interesting, that came out around Sapphire was, as you're probably familiar if you're an SAP or an Oracle DB customer today, those customers that SAP sells Oracle DB license and support through SAP, so those customers that are running on SAP on Oracle with runtime licenses supported by SAP, Gartner just actually put out a statement based from SAP on May 1st talking about the fact that they're actually going to end the support on that as close as 2019. They're also increasing the maintenance on that. So again, just another compelling event of where customers are starting to adopt HANA. They're leveraging cloud to drive the innovation and ease of that HANA deployment. So this is some of the scenarios we see. Now, if you take a look at some of the things that Stuart highlighted in the beginning of the presentation, we were really built for the enterprise. So opposite to kind of this public cloud provider that was built for general purpose and now try to get up the stack, we were really started to build our enterprise solution with our IP, this extreme software, and our infrastructure as a service with our data center. We built that from a platform or records perspective. The most demanding applications, ERP application, spinal fluid of companies of running that. So think performance, SLA management, security, fully managed. So that's one of the core component and tenet of our offering. The second thing is, as we know of customers that want to adopt cloud and want to adopt HANA, we also know there's tremendous pressure around budget and innovation from an economics perspective. So there's some key technologies that we have built, our patented technology around what we call micro VMs, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and how that applies in a HANA environment. So we really have a huge opportunity to drive down TCO. The other thing is, we give choices around fully managed, right? So what does that mean? Well, we have a portfolio of assessment, migration services, whether it's HANA or OSDB migration services, and then application managed services, so basis, OS, and DB, for full and managed platform to reduce the need for the existing skill set that may or may not be there. And again, those are choices that our customers adopt. And then the last thing is, we know if we ask our customers to move the most mission critical applications to the cloud, security and risk and compliance is top of mind of everybody. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the capabilities that we built into our platform to handle that. And in many cases, we found that we actually provide higher risk, higher security and compliance for our customers as they adopt our cloud. If you take a look at, we're really going to focus on Virtustream's enterprise cloud there on the bottom middle, and that's really what's built out for SAP and SAP HANA and S4 HANA. But we want to give a quick view of if you look at the 22 data centers around the world, we provide a federal cloud in the US. We provide a Virtustream storage cloud, so things like object store, backup as a service, archive as a service. We also provide our Extreme software into service providers around the world, and that's Extreme software. And then, we also provide on-premise private cloud. You may have seen during Dell EMC World 2 weeks ago that we announced a vRealize connector from VMware to connect vRealize operations deployments on-premise into our cloud. And all of it is managed by our managed services organization that does both infrastructure managed services on-premise and of course runs the platform in our cloud, as well as we talked about the fact that we have a full suite of AMS services around Basis, OS, and DB. As far as data center locations, when EMC acquired Virtustream in 2015, May of 2015, there were 6 data centers spread between the US and Western Europe. We've gone through a massive growth. Just in the last year and a half, we've been very fortunate of a lot of customers, including SAP customers, adopting our platform, and that's fueled the growth of us building out data center capabilities around the world. And this is not only for individual customers that might be located with a global instance or their S4 HANA instance in that geography, but we also have many large global customers in the Fortune 100 that have instances around the world and are coming to us to say, hey, we want a common platform experience from our ERP solutions from the cloud around the world. So most recently we had a lot of those requests with deployments in APJ. So most recently we just announced that we went live with data centers in Australia, in Sydney and Canberra, and also we just stood up nodes in Tokyo. So today there's a really large global footprint with 22 data centers serving our SAP customers, really to provide choices and that global support and global enterprise capability. So whether you're a small customer that may need a location in a particular geography for data sovereignty perspective, or global larger customers, we think we can be there for you, and obviously even growing this footprint even larger. We talked about already kind of Virtustream and built for the cloud. We talked about the fact that we have this Extreme powered cloud, and Extreme is our IP and our management platform, right? That really was reversed engineered to handle some of the challenges that our SAP customers deal with. So whether you're an existing SAP and Oracle or DB2 SQL customer or HANA customers, we see customers deal with things like visibility and management of the stack, right? Whether it's OS, DB, and infrastructure. How do you drive better visibility and management of that stack to get rid of the silos? How do you manage better SLAs across, really getting the application what it needs from an availability and performance? What are some of the opportunities to drive better service levels and better economics? We're going to talk a little bit about that. We see also challenges around security. We see some of the challenges around automation, a lot of manual tasks, whether you're doing patching or system refresh, system copy, or BCDR. So we've built this enterprise cloud with Extreme platform to deliver a lot of those capabilities. Full set of managed services, also opportunity to drive hybrid deployments. We have many clients, I mentioned EMC IT, for example, that runs sales and operations planning on HANA in our cloud, but the rest of the infrastructure runs on-premise. They're now in the process of moving more of those applications to our cloud to be able to have that hybrid visibility. and then also giving our customers the ability to have access to our portal for quick visibility and provisioning of those solutions. One of the core components within our cloud framework is a patent technology we call the micro VM. Think of it as the Cloud Kilowatt. What we've done is we've created some patent technology to drive a way of how we size and manage resource groups. So think about as you size an SAP environment or HANA environment, you have inputs like an early watch and SAPs and HANA DB sizes and so forth. What we do is we take a micro VM that's made up of resources from CPU, RAM, IOPS storage, and network storage, and bandwidth, right, from a network perspective. And we make that up to micro VMs. And think of that as building out a resource group. So we may have for an SAP HANA or S4 HANA landscape, let's say, 500 micro VMs that's made up of these resources. We do that for a couple reasons. The first reasons we do that is we want to ensure that we're giving you the performance and availability in that resource group mapped to your applications, whether it's production, test dev, DR, or sandbox and training. So we control the I/O to ensure that the resources in that resource group, even though we're running in a multi-tenant cloud, delivers to what that SAP application needs. Again, this is regardless whether we're running on traditional database or running in a SAP HANA or S4 HANA. And the second reason we do that is we want to drive a better consumption and a utility billing capability. So within that resource group, we're able to manage and view what resource is being used within a 5-minute increments. And then we take that increments and we aggregate that to the end of the month. As you know, your requirements and resources are being used a lot different in an SAP environment, whether it's during the day, during the week, or during the month, or during the quarter. So there's a lot of spikes and valleys in that. So through this micro VM concept, and we can really measure what resources are being used, and then we drive a lot better TCO from that perspective because we only bill for what's being used. And the third area is we've done some really interesting algorithms in our cloud leveraging this micro VM concept to drive better utilization of infrastructure. So we can squeeze out more usage of our IaaS, of our infrastructure as a service, specifically from an SAP customer perspective when we use this micro VM concept. To give you an example, one of our largest customers is Coca-Cola. They have a lot of different SAP environments running our cloud. They went from IBM Z-Series on-premise to our cloud, x86 on HANA, obviously, and they were actually able to see 30% better performance and 50% lower cost. And a lot of that had to do with the migrations they made to HANA, as well as leveraging this micro VM concept that we talked about. The last thing to think about that is around consumption economics is we talked about the kind of Cloud Kilowatt. If you think about it from in your house, the electricity in your house, as you know, traditional outsourcing is more as, you have a certain t-shirt size and you pay for everything, whether it's managed hosting. And same thing with your house. You wouldn't pay your electricity bill on everything of the rated capacity of all the electricity or your appliances in your house. The second kind of evolution around that is around what the public cloud providers do. They've created t-shirt run VMs and virtual machines. And again, there's a lot of wasted overhead in VMs, in allocated size around VMs. What we do again is we've created this Cloud Kilowatt, and we truly understand what CPU, memory, network, and storage I/O is being used, and then we only manage that and charge for what's being used. So it truly kind of becomes that that metering in your house from an electricity perspective, that we only charge for what's being used, what appliances, for example, or lighting or air conditioning you have being used at the time of the being. So it's unique in the industry. We think it drives a unique differentiation and a huge opportunity to drive better TCO especially for SAP HANA, virtual HANA environments, and SAP customers. Now, The other thing, when we talk about fully managed and white glove experience on our cloud, we think, to deliver SLAs, right? Really strong SLAs, both from a management of performance and availability. So in the case, I mentioned earlier that we are obviously an infrastructure as a service out of our 22 data centers. Then we have options around delivering AMS, so OS, DB, and Basis. For those customers that we're delivering Basis, OS, and DB support to as well, we can then guarantee SLAs up to the application, both from a performance and availability perspective. And again, if you're running in most mission-critical applications, this is the type of white glove experience and SLA management that you can really take advantage of the agility and innovation of cloud, knowing that you have performance and availability guarantees that are backed by penalties and contracts all the way up to 5 nines, and obviously SLAs around things like DR and HA and so forth. So we're very proud of being able to deliver this type of performance assurance, and we think SAP customers, specifically as they innovate and go to kind of the next generation around S4 HANA and ECC on HANA, that it's a really nice capability to be able to get this kind of white glove service. The other thing is, if you look at availability from an SAP HANA perspective, there are things like obviously local HA, there are things like BCDR, between data centers, and then of course backup and archive. So what we have built into our cloud platform is a native capability as a choice, of course. We classified the micro VMs between basic and core. Basics is one site, and the core delivers BCDR replication between 2 sites. But built into our IaaS, because we're using the enterprise grade class infrastructure from Dell EMC and VCE, we have some of the strongest replication technology. So whether that's local replication or long distance replications or high availability between data centers, that's built in with a 15-minute RPO and 30 minutes RPO for some of the non-HANA and HANA, as well as 1 hour and 2 hours for non-HANA and HANA from an RTO perspective. Again, the interesting thing here is, because the way we drive micro VMs in our DR side, those resources are there already, and what we found is that we're actually able to deliver BCDR with only about a 30% overhead with those resources sitting in that DR data centers. And again, this is a core capability of having DR built in and driving in a better TCO consumption model from a DR perspective. The other topics we mentioned is security, risk, and compliance. So we take security extremely important for our customers. We realize that mission critical applications, customers are not going to move those to cloud if they don't understand that we can deliver the type of security and compliance that those applications require. So there's some unique things that we've done as a cloud vendor, an enterprise cloud vendor, to deliver that. One of the things we've done is we've built a reference architecture from a security perspective with the highest grade of security in mind. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we run the SAP Federal Cloud. So there are requirements in the US around Federal Cloud, around FedRAMP and DoD and ILM5 and so forth. So we've basically built the reference architecture with access controls, with DMZs, with firewalls for the most stringent requirements that customers may have. Now, if you're commercial customers, you obviously probably don't need the type of stringent requirement that federal government or a DoD type organizations need. But our reference architecture is built from scratch with that defense in-depth security model. And of course, there are things like encryption with the choices of us holding the keys or customer holding the keys, that encryption both as rest and use in motion with the key management. Obviously access controlled and multi-factor authentication for accessing our cloud. We also done something unique in the industry of connecting our Extreme platform to a technology that Intel has called TXT, Trusted Execution Technology, which is something that sits in the chip level. And in simple terms, that enables us to control that when a new VM boots up on a specific server, or it's been booted up as a result of a vMotion or a move, it's sitting in a location. It has sitting in a location where it's supposed to. It has the identity of that server that we needed to have. There's no viruses or nothing had happened to that image, so we can boot that up knowing that it's safe. The other thing it does is we provide something we call geo-tagging and geo-fencing. So, as we provide high availability for SAP HANA, we can obviously move within data center from an HA perspective using technologies like vMotion or replication between data centers. We can ensure that those SAP applications all the way down to the BIOS and chip level are only being moved to environments that we can control and make sure that that's where it's supposed to be. So it doesn't get vMotion or replicated to a data center or location where it's not supposed to be. As a result, this is some of the reasons we've gotten some of the highest awards in security and can prove it all the way down to the chip level that we are providing the right frameworks and making sure those applications only reside where they're supposed to. We were very fortunate to have Forrester actually give us 5 out of 5 for the last 3 years in a row from a security of infrastructure as a service. The other thing we've done is we've taken a kind of a risk and a compliance view of our cloud. So about 3 years ago, we went out and acquired a company called ViewTrust. Think of ViewTrust as an ongoing automated compliance framework that continuously takes a 360 view of what's going on from an application database and infrastructure perspective. And these may be policies that you have as a customer, or you may have third-party requirements policies. So whether you're in various regulatory requirement environment around could be life sciences, could be the PCI or healthcare or federal government or public government. There may be third-party requirements that you have to be subject to. Very common obviously in the UK is around data sovereignty to make sure that data doesn't leave the UK. So again, through an online, on-time management view, compliance, we can see that we make sure that applications, database, and infrastructure are always staying up to date on what they're supposed to do. Now, this software and this capability doesn't fix the problem, but it provides a dashboard to see if I'm green, yellow, and red. And if I fall red because I haven't done a patch or I haven't done an upgrade, then I go fix that to make sure I'm meeting my compliance and meeting those, my internal policies or regulatory requirements. This also actually provides a nice benefit from an audit perspective. Most customers have the need to get audited or by internally or third party, maybe once a year or multiple times a year. So if my dashboard is all green around the controls that I'm measuring, then of course an audit exercise is just printing out that report versus, many clients deal with a lot of manual challenges of fixing a lot of things when they may get audited. So another way of driving efficiency and automation on the platform. And we talked about this already. Some of these certifications are more US based, but there's a lot of them that are global, such as all the ISO certifications. We have a slew of certification and validation from third party and from regulatory bodies. So we take security and risk and compliance extremely strong from that perspective. Other customer example, we mentioned Coca-Cola as a large client. A lot of their bottling groups are running their HANA environments in our cloud. And one of the first use cases they did about 3 years ago, they did a test environment of a HANA environment in our cloud. And they, at the time, they hadn't really considered whether they take that into production in our cloud or go back on-premise. And I think they really saw the benefit on a lot of things we delivered, of things we talked about in the presentation today. And they considered moving into the production in our cloud, but they obviously wanted to have kind of a CISO, a Chief Security Information Officer, meeting with our CISO and really understood that we provided the controls that they need to have a mission-critical application in the cloud. Again, this is 3 years ago. So our CISO sat down together in a couple days workshop, and what was interesting that they found that even though Coca-Cola has a very strong risk and security framework in their various data centers, but they actually found that for that particular use case, our cloud was more secure and higher compliance for that use case. So they, no problem, took that application into production, but they also learned some things that they went back and fixed in their data center environment to make sure that they were actually kind of meeting some of the security and compliance perspective that they have. So very interesting, right? Client going in wondering, is our cloud secure and reliable and compliant? And they came out of that exercise realizing that it was above their expectation from that perspective. We talked a little bit about our managed services capabilities. So, if you're going to move mission-critical applications to the cloud, having that full suite of services all the way from assessing environments, understanding, building that roadmap, building that TCO and that business case, all the way to doing migrations, whether those are HANA migrations or OSDB migrations, and then a full support as a choice to run OSDB and basis. So again, some clients may have this skill set or may rely on their system integrators, and we have many great system integrator partners that are leveraging our infrastructure as a service, or we offer this as an end-to-end service for our clients. Again, it's the opportunity to drive away maybe the fact that the skill set or the expertise is not there, and the fact that we have that skill set. We've done over 600 HANA migrations as an example, and about 60% of the SAP customer and HANA customers we have in our cloud are actually leveraging us from an OSDB and basis perspective for a full AMS service. And I mentioned earlier, if we are the basis OSDB provider, we can then also deliver the SLAs up to the application. If we're just the infrastructure as a service provider for a HANA environment or S4 HANA, then we deliver SLAs and infrastructure SLA, obviously, but we cannot deliver it all the way up to the application. So there's many customers that have taken advantage of this full management environment, and many customers we've gotten feedback of, they may have run on-premise with their own basis staff or third-party basis staff. In some cases, we've been able to reduce the basis operations because of some of the automations that we use, some of the skills and experience we have, with as much as 25 to 30% of helping customers be more efficient in that OSDB and basis perspective. One of the other things I wanted to touch on was we mentioned that we're a HANA Enterprise Cloud provider. So SAP has their own, in their HANA Enterprise Cloud framework, right? They have their own data centers and they have a set of partners. We were the third partner that became an HEC Premier partner. All our data centers in Europe are certified to run HEC, including the ones in the UK. So again, this is the ability to, for the consumption model, if you wanted it to, you obviously can come to us, work directly or through our system integrators, but this is our ability to go through SAP for the reason of governance and support through SAP with the infrastructure and AMS delivery of Virtustream. Other benefits you get out of that is the fact that you can package software subscription for the database or S4HANA with that HEC cloud consumption model. So more and more customers are taking advantage of this. We're very proud of being able to work very closely with SAP on that. And at Sapphire just 2 weeks ago, we extended that capability as a premier supplier around a couple key areas. So we had a press release go out on the 17th around that. Not going to spend a lot of time on that, but some of those things were around extending our geography and our reach in Europe and APJ. Some of the things were around driving better capabilities and unique capabilities in some verticals around healthcare, life sciences, utility sector, and public sector. And some other things were around governance in the field from a sales, pre-sales, migration, and the delivery perspective. So we're really excited about working closer with HEC, also working on some future things around HEC on-premise and data center pairing. So very interesting, unique opportunity to leverage for those customers that want that single experience from SAP from a contract perspective and software perspective, but take advantage of the capabilities that Virtustream delivers and that we've talked about today. Another area, before we wrap up, is a new innovation and a new platform that Virtustream has brought to the table that we call our big data service, big data cloud service. So many customers are realizing that, as they go down the path with HANA, and they may use structured data or unstructured data for HANA, you want to right-size that HANA environment. And sometimes, depending on use case, around IoT use cases or big data use cases, if you're starting to leverage a lot of unstructured data or data sources from non-SAP environments, those data sizes and data loads can kind of be overwhelming. So as you know, companies and have adopted technologies like Hadoop. SAP has a strong strategy here that was unveiled at Sapphire around SAP Leonardo. The underpinnings of that is the ability to run HANA and Hadoop for those environments, as well as their full Vora suite. The full Vora suite is Spark on top of HANA Hadoop for a single interface to be able to manage that. Now, these are all great technologies, and customers are adopting these technologies and leveraging IoT and big data. But what we've seen is the not so deep skill set around the world of customers having experience around managing Hadoop, HANA and Hadoop and Vora. So our Virtustream Big Data Service is, think of that as a full managed service of Hadoop as a service, HANA and Hadoop as a service, or full Vora with Spark, Hadoop, and HANA as a service. So you can drive and just focus on the business outcomes of what that platform delivers for you. And a lot of things that we've talked about today applies in this big data service as well. It's around enterprise security, built from performance or reliability, having those use cases predefined, predictable pricing. I mean, that's another thing. When people start adopting big data and IoT use cases, the data sizes, as people get more and more value out of those use cases, they want to get in more data from unstructured data sources. Those data sources can sometimes get into the hundreds of terabytes or petabytes. That's if you're managing yourself and you're running it on-premise on infrastructure, can be sometimes overwhelming to understand what the cost structure is, so that we provide predictable pricing and scaling from that model. So we're very exciting. We have just launched this big data service, and it really goes hand in hand with the customers that are going down the HANA and S4HANA path with us to adopt that and grow that with the HANA and Hadoop environment within the same data center, within the same framework and contracts from that perspective. We have many other customer examples, and I know we're running a little bit short of time. We talked quite a bit about various customers have deployed it on our cloud. We're very fortunate to have a bunch of S4HANA customers deployed on our cloud. So Hershey is one of those examples. There are many others, such as doTERRA, such as Sabre. Sabre is the big reservation engine for the world's airlines. We have Toyota Manufacturing. We have customers like Lego Plus running ECC on HANA out of Europe. So many customers adopted us for the S4HANA journey. And Hershey is one of them that last year during Sapphire signed a deal to drive digital transformation through S4HANA as a platform, and then realized that cloud was the way forward with a full managed suite from that perspective. That was a year ago they signed that deal. We've just gone live with portions of that environment for the S4HANA Finance with their 1610, version 1610 that came out in obviously 2016 in October for 10, right, 1610. So very excited. There's actually a video of the CIO, Carlos Amisquita, from Sapphire last year. If you search on YouTube there, about a 10-minute video that talks about why he went down the S4HANA path, why he went on that digital transformation, and why he went with Virtustream's enterprise cloud to move all his assets over to kind of a cloud consumption model. And so to summarize, I know we've covered a lot of content here from an SAP perspective. To summarize, some of the things and advantages and the unique differentiators we bring to the table, we believe that we can really drive a better performance and availability SLA experience for that full managed white glove assurance for customers that are looking to innovate, looking to deploy HANA, and looking to to really get that up and running quickly and get the kind of experience and fully managed cloud. So, being able to ensure with contracts and penalties behind it that we can deliver those SLAs, I think is a unique differentiator. We also, we believe we drive a great agility and efficiency of our enterprise cloud. We talked already about a bunch of big clients where we've done some really unique things, leveraging our platform, leveraging our services to drive better efficiency and agility, and so we're very proud of that. We talked quite a bit about the importance of security and that 360 view, whether it's access or encryption or regulatory requirements you have. You can be assured that with a bunch of Fortune 100 customers moving their most mission-critical applications in our cloud, we deliver that highest security, and that's something we're committed to continue delivering, because we think that the requirements are only going to grow as more customers are moving their S/4 HANA environment into our cloud. And then, of course, we always want to make, how do you continue to innovate, but at the same time drive a better overall economic experience, lower TCO. So things like our micro VM and utility billing, things like driving better utilization, driving better automation. As we have proven track record of deriving and delivering a superior economics for those clients. So that's something we're continuing being very committed around, and obviously it's top of the mind for a lot of SAP customers as they go into this HANA journey. I think the last thing we want to just touch before we get into Q&A, we obviously very appreciative that you attended this UKI webinar with us today, but the timing is very, very cool. We actually have an EBC event coming up in June here in a couple weeks in London. We've done this, what we call SAP Cloud Summit. Think of them as a SAP-focused briefing session with some of the top resources from Virtustream and for SAP that we can customize an agenda for clients for a half day. And we've done that many times around the world, and we bring in this Cloud Summit now to London on June 22nd at the Hilton. Only a couple weeks away. If you haven't signed up already or haven't got the invite, we'll ensure you get the invite to that. But we're pretty excited to have a Forrester research principal who's just commissioned a study around enterprise cloud for mission critical applications, going to come in and be our keynote speaker. And then we have some of our strongest technical SAP resources coming that can address a lot of things around HANA, S4 HANA, around Virtustream Enterprise Cloud, around our security, around our management of our platform. So again, think of this as a white glove experience. If you weren't able to go to TechEd last year or Sapphire a couple weeks ago, we're bringing the show to you in London a couple weeks from now. Sign up and spend 3 hours with us and really dig deeper around starting your journey around cloud and understand maybe even a step further from a whiteboard perspective on some of the things we can deliver for you on managing your HANA or S4 HANA environment. So with that, I think we've run a little bit over, but we want to leave some time for questions.
Thank you, Henrik. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask? That was a lot in 50 minutes, Henrik. Well done.
Thank you very much, Henrik and Stuart. I think there's a couple of questions coming in now. Just read the first one out. What are the most common use cases for deploying Virtustream's Enterprise Cloud?
Typically, it can be one or two. I'll have a go first, Henrik, if you want to answer as well. So we get a number of calls through. So sometimes a client will have a legacy infrastructure estate hosting their SAP environment, and they're looking to move to the cloud journey. Now they'll do this in one or two ways. Typically, the easiest move is to take the ECC6 environment and then move it onto the cloud, settle that down, and then do a transformation to Business Suite on HANA typically, or onto S4 HANA when the timing is right. Other cases may be where they actually want to do the technical and functional upgrade in parallel to moving the ECC6 onto HANA. So those tend to be the two most typical SAP use cases that we see in the market today in Europe. Henrik, you have anything to add to that?
I think that's great, and we touched on it a little bit earlier too on the slide that I have up right now. These are kind of entry points, and I think, providing that skill set that may or may not exist around that initial HANA or VPC on HANA deployment, and then have the flexibility to just get that up and running quickly, and or if you want to, but what we've seen is people that have experienced our cloud for a test dev sandbox environment around BW or VPC on HANA, they've gotten the comfort level that they can accelerate the cloud journey and take those applications into production and then get towards that digital transformation, whether it's ECC on HANA, S4 HANA. So no, I think we were spot on there.
Okay, there's just a couple more questions come in. So, do you have any HANA scalability limitations of your cloud platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. I should probably have talked about that. People tend to ask us, right, you know, what's my HANA size? Can you handle that in your cloud? As you know, depending on HANA use cases, you get anywhere from, you know, 2 to 10 times compression of HANA. I think 3 or 4 times compressions is what we see around S4 HANA or ECC on HANA. We actually don't have any limitations. Our limitations is aligned with SAP's product availability matrix. So whatever SAP supports from a scale up or scale out environment, we can support as well. Now, of course, from a virtualization perspective, there's a lot more benefit if you fit within that 3-4 terabytes on what can be virtualized on HANA, on the capabilities from an agility and cost perspective. But what we see is customers that move an entire ERP landscape, there may be components that are physical, from an ECC on HANA perspective, S4 HANA, but the rest of the landscape, which is the majority of the service and system, will be virtualized. So we actually don't have, limitations. You know, right now, SAP supports up to 24 terabytes of ECC on HANA and close to 100 terabytes on scale-out environment. And we have customers with those kind of sizes from both in the scale up and scale out. So able to provide the smallest footprint and grow, or provide those really large footprint as well.
Okay, thank you. We just have another question there. Do you have your full services capabilities across all your global data centers?
Yes would be the answer for that. Yes. It's our standard reference architecture that we deploy in every data center around the world.
And I don't know if you caught that on the earlier presentation or my slide. We actually have a global center of excellence support centers, both from an infrastructure service, IMS, and AMS. So those COEs then support our 22 global data center locations. So again, we want to give that common experience to a global customer from an SAP perspective. So all those services, whether it's assessment, migration, or ongoing AMS, is delivered through from a global perspective.
So every data center has the same capabilities in each, and then we have global centers of excellence that service our clients around the world. And then we have in-country resources to support, obviously, clients in-country.
Any other questions?
Just give it a few seconds. Does anyone else like to ask anything? Okay. Well, I'd like to say thank you very much to Henrik, and thank you very much to Stuart, and also a big thank you to Virtustream for this webinar. This recording will be made available quite shortly, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much for attending.
Pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.